Erasmus Wiley Glasgow, and I'm feeling perfectly fine. I just had the vaccine, and I'm trying to encourage each and everyone to come and get the vaccine. It's important. Life goes on, but with this vaccine, it makes it even easier. Because of the field we are in, we are actually at the front. So each taxi driver should come and take this vaccine, because trust me, it will be important to each and every one of us going forward.
Do not procrastinate, but rather let us vaccinate.
On Friday, July 16th, there'll be thousands of dollars to be won. A lotto jackpot of $64,000. A new home, car, or that college education.
Lotto, you have to be in it to win it.
Next lotto jackpot, $64,000.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way, Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.
The Super 6 jackpot for Friday, July 16th is $210,000. Super 6, more jackpot money.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way, Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.
This evening on the VC3 News Update, Japan extends emergency grant aid of US $1.58 million to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 25,509 COVID-19 vaccines administered in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to date. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines continues to make major strides in the fight against cybercrime. Join us at 7 p.m. this evening for these stories and more on the VC3 News Update.
This one is fabulous.
Yes, fabulous. It's Fabulous 500. Another $5 scratch game from the NLE. Loaded with $500 cash prizes.
With a top prize of $25,000.
You have 10 chances to win.
Fabulous $500.
There's cash to catch with just a scratch. Fabulous. Fabulous 500.
Good evening and welcome to today's edition of Roundtable Talk. This evening, our very special guest is Prime Minister Dr. Ralph E. Gonsalves. It's been a long time since you've been here with us, but
yes,
good to have you back this evening.
Very happy to be here.
And how have things been going?
Very hectic, but God don't give you more than you can bear. And we're making progress, holding things together and moving forward.
Okay. Lots of things happening,
yes,
locally, regionally, internationally.
Yes.
They say charity begins at home, so we are going to start at home this evening.
Fine.
The government announced yesterday that residents who had evacuated for La Soufrière, the eruption of La Soufrière, residents of Chateaubelair and Fitzhughes can now return home.
On the 23rd.
Okay, let's talk about that, the rationale and the way forward.
Well, from a standpoint of seismology, that is to say the extent of the seismic activity, it was perfectly in order for the persons to move back in Chateaubelair and in Fitzhughes because they're orange zone areas and they're not red zone. It's northwest of Fitzhughes is the red zone. Okay. That is to say Richmond, Wet Walibu, Larrakai, those areas. But what may be an orange zone for the purposes of seismology is not an orange zone for the purposes of the socioeconomic impact of the volcanic eruption. Because there was a lot of ash in Chateaubelair and in Fitzhughes. Finished basically clearing the ash in Chateaubelair. They're completing the cleaning of the hospital and of the the police station. So you have to make sure that the services which you have for the hospital services and the police services, that they're in order. And then in relation to Fitzhugh's, there's still some cleaning to be done. And particularly, there's a lot of ash on the field at Golden Grove, right near to the Learning Resource Center. And that has to be cleared. And you wouldn't want the people to move back in Fitzhugh's until that is cleared, because it would give a lot of ash problems when you're moving the ash and the like. So it is felt that by Friday the 23rd, all of that should be done. And we should be okay for back to Chateaubelair and to Fitzhugh's. Now, the water is in order for down there, the electricity is in order, all the way down to Richmond, in fact. But Richmond is not yet ready. Not many persons live over there. Interestingly, in Larrakai and the Wet Wallaby area, that area northwest of Richmond, there used to be settlements there up to 1902. But a lot of people in those areas died from pyroclastic flows in 1902, and those villages, the villagers in those villages migrated. Many of them died. A lot of the houses were destroyed. People moved into Fitzhugh's and so on and so forth, and other places. So that's the rationale, really. As we get the services back, as everything is in order, we clean up the ash, people clean up their homes. But a lot of people have moved back to Chateaubelair, already, so far, even though we haven't given the all clear. So that's the simple rationale.
Okay, you noted that the two of the essential services, the hospital, police station, would they be ready and
on the 23rd,
fully operational, yes, for the 23rd?
Yes, we have police services there at the moment because the police move, they're very mobile. We have given more vehicles to the police, and the police always want more vehicles. But it seems as though the more you give them, they report to you that they crash one or two. It seems, I smile about it, but it infuriates me, and it infuriates the commissioner. There has to be a lot more discipline in the use of state vehicles.
Okay, let's talk about north of the Dry River. What's the situation with regard to moving back?
Basically, persons have moved back to Orange Hill. And water is there, electricity is there. They're hooking electricity up to the homes. Homes have been inspected, those were to have electricity. They're completing the cleaning up of Overland. And they'll move on to Magum, into Sandy Bay. The water has been restored in Sandy Bay, but the water in Sandy Bay, both in Old Sandy Bay and New Sandy Bay, but the water is still the water supply is still fragile in Sandy Bay because it's not the main catchment; it's a makeshift system. So anytime you have any heavy rains and you have ash coming down from the mountainside, the system will have to be shut off, just like when you had Hurricane Elsa. But by the end of July, Gard Saunders at CWS tells me that they would finish the catchment area, the main catchment area in Sandy Bay. OEA is more problematic, but once we clean up OEA, if CWS doesn't finish put the water supply back, we'll have a lot of tanks for people to get water. In fact, yesterday at a NEMO meeting, I discussed precisely that. There are a couple of 4,500 gallon tanks, 1,000 gallon tanks. We can put some things there, and CWS is mindful of that. But the electricity is in nowhere because the police station has electricity, but the matter of hooking up the electricity to the homes, the electrical inspectorate and VINLEC would have to check each home to see whether it's suitable for electrical reconnection. Generally speaking, north of the Dry River, and particularly north of Orange Hill, when you look at the the map which shows the hazards, the hazard map, and in particular the lahars on the north, in north of Orange Hill. The hazard map looks like a spider web of river valleys where the lahars could come down. And in fact, in those valleys, the lahars, the mud flows, did in fact come down during the volcanic eruption and of course the rainfall. What we are doing is that we are mapping exactly the areas where you must live north of the dry river, and particularly north of Orange Hill, because we don't want you to go and live in any river valley on the banks of the river valley. The people, so we are going to demarcate the areas where you can live, where you can build houses. We'll publish those areas, publish those locations. We'll mark them out in the ground. We have set up a committee chaired by the head of physical planning, the public servant who heads physical planning, the chief physical planner down at Hull. She heads a committee involving the chief surveyor, representative of the chief engineer's office, the head of forestry or his representative, people who do valuation, and we have two technical persons assigned to them, Professor Robertson, who's working virtually from Trinidad, and Dr. Pat Joseph, who is here, who came in a few days ago. She heads the Seismic Research Center at the University of the West Indies in Trinidad. There are going to be a lot of houses which need building. We have identified a parcel of land which would have, at Orange Hill, which have about 40 lots. And we want to build those out. In fact, we took a decision today at Cabinet that we'll begin to mark out the first 30 two-bedroom lots. And as we go, there are some people further north who don't mind living in Orange Hill, but a lot of them still want to stay in Sandy Bay, even though where they live in, they can't continue to live. Either their houses would have to be destroyed, or their houses were already destroyed.
How are you going to convince people that they simply cannot return?
Well, that's just going to be strictly enforced. And there's a 7-acre plot of land opposite the school, actually belonging to Montgomery Daniel. And I said to him that people want that land to live, which is where he has his house too. So he might have to give up all of that, and we buy that from him or exchange him land somewhere else. I don't know what the final arrangement would be. I'm waiting on the chief surveyor to advise on that. So that's a place where people could live. There's a safe part in Sandy Bay. But you take in Sandy Bay itself. When you enter Sandy Bay, when you come off the little stretch where you have the school on the left-hand side, when you come on to that stretch as you enter Sandy Bay, when you meet like a little river, like a gutter-like. That's called Aguti Pasha. If you pass, you will see a political party, not the ULP, had a broken down office there.
Yeah, on the left.
On the left, yeah. Yes. So that's one. That's a river valley right there. Mm-hmm. I'm giving an example with Sandy Bay, but there are other places. Then you go wrong and you reach on top of the hill where the Child family live. CHILD family. And you come down and you see there are a lot of boulders which had come down in that center place in Sandy Bay. And that's a big river valley. There are some buildings inside of the river valley. Those have to go, including a shop. I used to go by the shop. And then when you go around the corner and you leave in Sandy Bay to go up on the hill what they call Zion Hill, there is another river valley there. There's a house which is built in it, and that will also have to go. There are one or two others. So that's just that area. But you go London before, you have a problem. And beyond that, you enter Bottomowea, for instance. You know that there's a stream coming down there. You drive on the floor of the stream because it's like a slip drain like. There's a walkway, a concrete walkway. I think that was built during the time of when Monty Roberts was the parliamentary representative for people to walk, and because they couldn't walk down in the water, the vehicles can drive over the kind of a concrete where the water flowed over. So they're different. There are a number of places. As I said, it looks like when you see the map, it's like a spider web. On the western side of the island, the northwestern side, where you will see the aggregation of the places for the lahars, where the lahars actually came after the eruptions of April 9th and continuing. Then areas where you don't have habitation, like Larakai, Wetwallabu, but you had habitation there in 1902, but you didn't have habitation, except for one or two fellas with a couple of huts and men who do farming of a specialized or unspecialized nature.
Okay, when we come back, I want to talk about the added pressure that the passage of Elsa may have put on the entire system. We'll take our first break, back in just a moment.
Japan extends emergency grant aid of US $1.58 million to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 25,509 COVID-19 vaccines administered in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to date. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines continues to make major strides in the fight against cybercrime. Join us at 7 p.m. this evening for these stories and more on the VC3 News Update.
On Friday, July 16th, there'll be thousands of dollars to be won. A lotto jackpot of $64,000. A new home, car, or that college education.
Lotto, you have to be in it to win it.
Next lotto jackpot, $64,000.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.
The Super 6 jackpot for Friday, July 16th is $210,000. Super 6, more jackpot money.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.
Hello everyone, I am Shakel Bob. I am a former Miss Pitani, a former Miss Rural SCG and Miss LCG contestant and runner-up. I'm a lawyer by profession but a pageant lover at heart. Do not let the negatives prey on your mind because a stitch in time saves 9. So, it's COVID vaccination time. Get vaccinated today to reduce the impact of COVID-19 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And I urge you, get vaccinated. It is safe and it is effective. Stop the spread, help the fight, and make the choice that is right. And let us unite and do the thing right.
This evening on the VC3 News Update, Japan extends emergency grant aid of US $1.58 million to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 25,509 COVID-19 vaccines administered in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to date. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines continues to make major strides in the fight against cybercrime. Join us at 7 p.m. this evening for these stories and more on the VC3 News Update.
I am Hans John, the 2019 Vinci Ragasoka Monarch. I took the COVID-19 vaccine and so should you. Let's be an example to others. Get vaccinated today and help control the spread of COVID-19.
Vaccinate if you want to eliminate the spread of the virus in our place, and do not procrastinate, but rather let us vaccinate. Get vaccinated today.
Before we took that first break, spoke about the fact that let's talk a little bit about the added pressure that the passage of Elsa may have caused.
Okay. Let me just finish 2 points on the northeast and the northwest in relation to the volcano and the matter of housing. I mentioned in the northeast we have earmarked about 8 acres of land out of about 40 lots at Orange Hill, and there's this parcel of about 7 acres below the road opposite the school we're giving consideration to. But we also have some lands in Connery. We have some state lands in Connery which we can also make available. We're identifying lands because there's going to be a significant number of houses, and we have to build them out in phases. Those which are in greater need immediately, and because you can't do it all one time, and you have to, physically you just can't do it all one time. And we have to do it well enough that we can get the persons out of the shelters, because there are 30 schools. 30 of the 44 shelters are still schools. Now, on the leeward side of the island, we don't have the problem in relation to the lahars, in respect of areas where their habitation. But the people who have had their houses damaged by the volcanic ash and the general activity of the volcano. And we're identifying a parcel of land, and we are working with an NGO in Trinidad, the government that is, and we took the decision to build 27 houses. That will be the first batch. So you can see there's a big house in. Yeah. It can cost a ton load of money, and it has been made worse by the Hurricane Elsa. There's 100 and something houses which have been damaged seriously at various stages, some very serious, some not so serious, but requiring attention. In most of them are in North Windward and North Central, because that's where Hurricane Elsa focused. A few of those which were further damaged by Elsa would have had to break down in any case because they were damaged by the volcano. It's a big number. And of course, south of North Central and all the way on the northwest, we have had bits and pieces, 5, 8 houses which have been severely damaged across the country. And so we have to find the resources. But I'm determined to find the resources and to put shelter over our people. You know that this government has done that quite well. And
how will you determine who are the first 27 who will be? housed?
They objectively will be determined because we have a database. We have a very good database. And when we go and talk about the social support, I would tell you the extent of the database which we have. So we know pretty much what is happening. And some people naturally feel aggrieved if John Brown gets it over Tom Jones, but there will be objective criteria. And basically, most of them will determine themselves, but at the margin, you may have, Teresa may get her house and Ralph can get his, and they just have to tell Ralph, wait, no man, you're going to come. Don't dig nothing. I can't do all one time.
And how soon do you think we will have to house people in public shelters? How long would that?
Well, we intend to start school on October the 4th, the new school term. So we have to get people out of the shelters, and we have to get the shelters, the schools repaired. We began with 87 shelters. Because people have moved out and you have had consolidation of shelters, we're down now to 44. We had at one time dealing with over 7,000 occupants, but now it's down to 1,970 as of Monday. Those are the numbers I have from Monday. As you know, I don't have a piece of paper in my head, but I read them, I know them, I have to live them, I have to walk with them in my head, because everything I do, that's what I'm focused on, day by day with Jesus. That's how I'm doing it. And in addition, we're doing a lot of social safety net support for people. We are feeding, obviously, the 1,970 persons, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you get very few complaints about that, because we have a good system of procurement of the food and so forth. Yesterday, at the NEMO council meeting, emergency council meeting, I had to make sure that they must not only do the procurement properly and do all that on a timely basis, but they must do the paperwork so that the people who supply the food could get their money on a timely basis. Sometimes the public servants are not as quick in having satisfied persons to get their meals. Some of them apparently feel, well, my job is done. Wait, I had to wait a few days. No, but you have to do the paperwork immediately to get to the Ministry of Finance, and then to go to the Accountant General Office, the Treasury, to get paid, because the Treasury is very careful about making payments if the documentation not fully in order. So you have to do everything properly. No, so that sometimes the Treasury will have to send back a document and say, well, no, this wasn't done properly, to provide the verification and all the various support systems as required by the regulations, the financial regulations. Now, since, well, most of the, over 20,000 persons evacuated. The bulk of the persons didn't go in shelters. They went into private homes. Friends, family, some people rented apartments. And in some cases, depending on the nature of the family, the state itself would have rent somewhere privately. Pregnant women. I mean, I went, for instance, down at I'll visit shelters. I went down to a school down in Layu, and I saw a pregnant woman there, visibly pregnant. She had a little child, and her boyfriend, her partner. And I said, but why are you not in somewhere else other than this shelter? Said, well, they went to the people came to check them, but they said that she and the little child can come. But the fella is a strong man. He can, but that's nonsensical, that's narrow thinking. So I said, no. You have to make the arrangements and make a telephone call from there to the person responsible, and so on and so forth. This is why it's important that people go around the shelters, and bit by bit, you got it going well. But we have through NEMO and social development is within NEMO. You're NEMO, I'm NEMO, everybody is NEMO. So in the Ministry of Social Development, we have distributed since the volcano in homes, people who live in private homes, persons who evacuated, and persons who have gone back to the orange zone and also to the red zone, like people in Georgetown and Orange Hill and the like. We have distributed 22,300 packages of food, each of them lasting 2 weeks. In addition, we have distributed 8,720 care boxes, the love boxes now. They call, before the election, they were called love boxes. They have a slightly different name now. Those are with Saboto arrange with the agricultural produce now. We help the farmers by buying it from them, help some workers by they packing them, and people get food. Food is important. And then Red Cross distributes around 400 packages now per week. Red Cross has distributed to over 3,000 households. We, through social development, we do 500 packages daily, you know. I don't know if you realize the amount of food, what we are distributing. Then, of course, the Seventh-day Adventist group, Caritas, the Catholic group, other religious denominations, the other NGOs of one kind or another to supplement. And then cash money. I'm not now going to talk about money for farmers. I'm not talking about money for workers. I'm talking now people, families who evacuated. Through the World Food Program of the United Nations, you know, we work closely with them. We had the global appeal for the UN, over $10 million so far. We have gone to that appeal, contributors. We don't spend that money. The UN agencies will spend it, whether it's World Food Program, whether it's UNESCO. They will do the spending.
So this 10 million does not come into
no, not into our treasury. But we have the information. We agreed with WFP, the World Food Program, that we will pay the families on the basis of a family which is up to $1,000, their family income up to $1,000 a month. And on the basis of the formula worked out, depending on the size of the family, you get $300, $400, $500, $600, or $700 or $800. And so far, we have the WFP has paid out to 3,259 families, you know. In the month of May, started in May, in the month of May alone, they paid out $1.35 million. And as the numbers increase, they're paying out more. And they're going to pay that until to the end of September. We had thought that we'll go to the end of July with that, maybe end of August, but we're going to the end of September because we have gathered more monies for them. Caritas, for instance, some groups which are, because of the size of the family, they get $300, say, or even one which even reaches $800. Caritas made one-off payments to 200 of those families to top them up. the Seventh-day Adventist group, ANRA, they gave 350. Well, in fact, they only paid out 325 because, 335 they were to pay out. They paid 325 because we couldn't get the contact information for the other 10 whom we identified in the system. In fact, unfortunately, we have about 500 families who are registered, we have not been able to track. We're tracking them day by day. You see, they register, but they don't, where they say they came from, they didn't give you the right address where they came from or what they're going to. They give you wrong telephone number, or sometimes no telephone number. Or they give you a telephone number which is no longer working. So you have to use a lot of other methods
to reach them.
I'm giving you an insight as to the kind of database which we have and what we are supplying. It's a real challenge. But the public servants and the volunteers doing fantastic work. And I want to thank them. Just the same way like the VINLEC workers, the CWSA workers. Of course, in life and living and production, you'll find a few people who will skulk. You know what I mean, Teresa? But by and large, the volunteers and our public servants have served us well. And I want to thank them yet again. I get infuriated now and again, but only momentarily, if something was to be done and, God damn it, this thing should have been finished this morning. Why is it? It's after lunch now and the thing ain't done, man. You know, that kind of way. But that is like a father trying to make sure, not like his children, but you're supervising the thing now, you're watching it, you're making sure that it's running in order. And this is independent of the money which we're paying out for the farmers. This is independent of the money which we pay out regularly for social development through the public assistance program. I'm talking about social support. This is different than the $13.7 million which we paid between April last year, April the 17th, to the end of June this year for the nearly 10,000 workers, those who had either lost their jobs or who had reduced income because of COVID, general workers, then workers who are in the hospitality industry, and the seafarers. Now, is a whole heap of money that we are paying out, and because we had put some things aside in the contingency fund, and we had left some money at the World Bank to have as a catastrophic drawdown deferred option. Last year, election year, I leave $20 million US at the World Bank, 54 million EC. I tell fellas, I say, listen, we're not spending this money, It was this election. I say, we'll win the election without spending this money. I said, this money, we're putting aside this money because of, I see the problem with COVID, and we might have, I wasn't contemplating at the time the software blowing. I was thinking about the COVID continuing. I was thinking about a hurricane or a big storm to leave something for the rainy day, so to speak. And those are monies which we are using. I mean, it's like you had a foresight. I know at election time, politicians usually want to pluck the chicken. They pluck the chicken so much the chicken ain't got no feather. So after election, the chicken guy won't walk. It dropping down dead because ain't got no feather on it. But that didn't happen with us. And it was responsible government in setting up the contingency fund, responsible government in not plucking the chicken, as we were being accused of it. But I left $20 million. If the NDP had won the election, the money would have been there for them to get.
Okay, we'll talk some about that when we come back after a second break.
Yeah.
Back in a moment.
Read, learn, grow. The children of help them read, learn, grow. Let's show them how much fun it is to read, learn, grow. So parents, you play your part. First and foremost, reading from so young is advantageous. Link with the teachers, working hand in hand is a must. Just 10 minutes of your child reading to you is a plus. Get fun books, make reading priority. When children read, they are able to learn, and the more they learn, the more they grow. So parents help the kids read, learn, grow. Reading is fun, kids have to know. Read, learn, grow. The children are the future, help them read, learn, grow. So parents, you play your part.
This message is brought to you by the OECS USAID Early Learners Program, funded by United States Agency for International Development. For more information, log on to www.oecs.org/ELP.
This one is fabulous.
Yes, fabulous. It's Fabulous 500. Another $5 scratch game from the NLE. Loaded with $500 cash prizes.
with a top prize of $25,000.
You have 10 chances to win.
Fabulous $500.
There's cash to catch with just a scratch. Fabulous. Fabulous 500.
On Friday, July 16th, there'll be thousands of dollars to be won. A lotto jackpot of $64,000. A new home, car, or that college education.
Lotto, you have to be in it to win it.
Next lotto jackpot, $64,000.
Hello and hi.
Hello everyone, I am Shakel Bob. I am a former Miss Pitani, a former Miss Rural SVG and Miss SVG contestant and runner-up. I'm a lawyer by profession but a pageant lover at heart. Do not let the negatives prey on your mind because a stitch in time saves 9. So, it's COVID vaccination time. Get vaccinated today to reduce the impact of COVID-19 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And I urge you, get vaccinated. It is safe and it is effective. Stop the spread, help the fight, and make the choice that is right. And let us unite and do the thing right. More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.
The Super 6 jackpot for Friday, July 16th is $210,000. Super 6, more jackpot money.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.
This evening on the VC3 News Update, Japan extends emergency grant aid of US $1.58 million to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 25,509 COVID-19 vaccines administered in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to date. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines continues to make major strides in the fight against cybercrime. Join us at 7 p.m. this evening for these stories and more on the VC3 News Update.
Prime Minister, before we took that last break, we were talking about all the different supports that are in place to help those who have been displaced. What sort of support from an emotional standpoint have they been getting?
Well, this is a very important area of the work which we have been doing, the psychosocial support. At the moment, you know, in all the primary schools, we have counselors. Each of the 61 primary schools, in secondary schools too, and we have in the health system. And they go through the regular health services which we deliver to the shelters. They talk to people because it is a traumatic thing to move from your home, you know. I know sometimes people will joke and say, well, nah, man, fellas getting some money inside a day and they got tea, breakfast and dinner and they don't want to leave, man. Look, you make them as comfortable as you possibly can, but basically, the overwhelming majority of people want to go back home and get a life of normalcy. So they have all kind of anxieties. You know, you look at them, the faces of men and women are strained and anxious. They're worried about their children, the children not going to school, what will happen when they go back, how they negotiate their future, all of these things. So they need to have confidence that what is being done with them and for them is that there is a pathway for their own development, for their, not just their survival, but for their progress, for their development, for us to build back stronger. Not just a set of words, but they see it. And you have to get them in the frame of mind also to understand this and to calm their anxieties and their worries. And then there are online programs which we have. And then from August the 1st, UNICEF has identified, well, they're going to do work with 500 families over a 3-month period, August, September, October. The families are selected in conjunction with Ministry of Social Development. These are people who may be considered to be particularly vulnerable. People who have come from especially vulnerable areas or homes, to talk to them, to deal with all sorts of issues. How are they coping skills, question of gender violence in the home, abuse in the home, the need for men and women together to pull their weight, community awareness, personal hygiene issues, a complex of matters which touch upon your life and your living. Look, I'll tell you, Teresa, it's not because I'm the Prime Minister in this government. We have embarked on a program of social support and psychosocial support, the likes of which never been seen in this country in any disaster. And you haven't seen the end of it yet. And it's being rolled out before people's eyes. And people are listening to what I'm saying. We have the data that people are listening. I can tell you that. On the vaccine, they will say, it's all right, we're hearing the comrade, we're hearing the Prime Minister. We also want to hear the doctors. We want to hear the health professionals. I have to talk about it. But a lot of other persons who are talking, they're not paying a great deal of attention to them. Many of the younger ones going online and they're reading things. Sometimes they're reading the wrong things. And you have to correct that. And that's an ongoing battle, because in addition to us having a pandemic, we have an infodemic because of a lot of false news and fake things, with misinformation and so forth. And if you have a predisposition, if you're afraid of a needle and somebody tell you something which you don't have to take a needle, you may have what is called in the science a cognitive dissonance, that you don't want to hear what might be the truth. You have a confirmation bias. I don't like to take this thing. I don't know if this thing good for me. But you read something which tells you that. But what you're reading is something fake, is something not scientific, because the vaccine is good for you. It is what we have to do to fight this coronavirus in order to come back to normalcy. And there's a great deal of hesitance, and we have to continue to just work on it. But for us to move back to normalcy, we have to have regular testing, and most of all, we have to have the vaccine. We have to have immunity. There are two ways in which you can get immunity. One way to get immunity is for 70% of the population to get the COVID. Well, if that happens, a lot of people are going dead. A lot of people are going to get sick. That's not the way you want to get the population to get immunity. You have a vaccine. That's what human science, that's what God has given us the brain and given us the equipment to produce this vaccine. 193 countries at the United Nations hardly agree on anything. Everybody's agreed on one thing, that the vaccine is a vital tool in the toolbox to fight COVID. It's not a silver bullet, because you can still get COVID even though you're vaccinated, but the chances are significantly reduced. And for us to go, people at the airport, when people are coming, or at the cruise ship pier, or going to restaurants, or going to people at customs, people want to know that these persons are vaccinated. The taxi driver who's driving you, the nurses who are attending to you, the doctors. You know, you might say, well, the farmer in South Rivers who going in the mountain, even though I'd love him to get his vaccine, you might say, well, you know, I deal with my goat and my cattle and my banana and my yam. And when I come down back, I just deal with my wife. I ain't going nowhere, you know, I'm not. My life, the way I live it, the chances that I'm going to get COVID, the chances are not.
And that might not be
great.
so, because somebody might bring it.
The children might bring it to you. The younger ones might bring it to you. But I'm just saying, but certainly people in the public service who are dealing with people frontline, I know that persons are saying, well, look, Ralph, why is it that some people have to pay for the vaccine?
For the test.
Pay for the test. Well, each test costs about the antigen test costs about $10 US, about $26 EC. We say we will give you a test, the first one, the second one free. But why should you continue to get it free when there's a vaccine which you can take free, and obviate the necessity for you to be getting tests every other Monday or every Monday? I know, for instance, an employer who, I've heard about this, is building, he has a construction site, he has 170 workers. 2 or 3 of the workers came down with COVID, and he sent everybody home for the week. That is loss of income, holding up his project. And he told them, the boss man told them, listen to me. You either take the vaccine or you get tested every Monday morning and bring your test when you come to work. I'm managing the risk here on this site. No, if you go to the Stubbs Polyclinic once, you go there twice, you don't expect the Stubbs Polyclinic going to give you free the vaccine, the test, the antigen test, every single Monday morning to satisfy your employment requisites. What about the rest of the people who take the vaccine, who contribute into who paying taxes? Let's just assume that every Monday 30,000 workers have to get a test. That's $300,000 US every Monday. Every week, you multiply that by 52 weeks. Or if you do it just roughly, if it's 12, if it's $1.2 million per month, a 4-week month, 12 months in the year, you see the bill you have on your hand.
But it's interesting that
that's US dollars, eh?
Yeah, someone would refuse to take the test, but would pay to get a falsified vaccination certificate. I don't know how to reconcile.
Yes,
these
well,
two.
you have all kind of weird things. I know cases coming up for the law courts. I've been advised that there was somebody who falsified
vaccination
result for somebody who didn't want to take the vaccine. He paid $100 equivalent of $100 for it. That's what I was advised. But I can't talk about the matter because the matter is in court, and that's one which they have caught, or which they think they have caught. There are reports of others, and they're investigating them. So it's, look, take the vaccine. It helps you, it helps your family, it helps your country. There's a lady who I told yesterday, a week ago, to take the vaccine. She took it yesterday. She called me this morning. She said, comrade, I feel my bones hurting me. I said, why? She said, take the vaccine. I said, well, the immunity is working. That's why you feel for the first 24 hours. The doctors, they'll tell you, the nurses will tell you, you may feel a little nausea, nauseous, you get a little feeling of nausea. But that's normal. The children, when they take the vaccine, they feel a little irritable for 24 hours or so.
A new shipment of Sputnik has
Sputnik has come in.
We just had to give away some of our AstraZeneca.
We gave away a lot of AstraZeneca.
Are you optimistic that there will be
an uptake?
Significant uptake?
Well, the point I'm doing, Teresa, we had gotten 800 and something Sputnik, they all went. And people who don't want to take the AstraZeneca say, comrade, bring the Sputnik, bring what you take, we go take it. Well, we will see whether they will take it. They may not take it. I have been telling everybody the best vaccine to take is the one which you have available. Protect yourself with it and protect your family, and let us move back to normalcy. Look, I don't like taking the test. I don't like taking any vaccine or any injection. But I've had to take injections in my life for my own good. And it ain't killing. You know, it's an injection that punch in your skin. This thing you're putting up in your nose. Between last year, when I went with Eloise to go to America, when she had a health problem, to recently when I went to Venezuela and came back. And there's several places I've been, times in and out. I have taken the tests 26 times, you know. It's like second nature now. You know, I just put my neck back on it, because remember when you're coming in, you have to have the test done. When you arrive, you have to take one. And when they're clearing you, well, before the vaccine, when they're clearing you, they have to come and take it also. In fact, even this occasion, when I went to Venezuela and I vaccinated, I had to do my 7 days quarantine.
Because Venezuela is high risk?
It's high risk. High risk. Okay. And, but you know, Simone Keyser Beach and Roger Duncan came to the cabinet on Monday and advised that we must cut out the home quarantine because people are abusing it, and they gave several examples. And they fear that people who would abuse it, it's difficult for them to police dozens of different, several dozens of different places, private homes. Easier if you have approved hotels or guest houses, they can more easily police it. We saw what happened in Christmas when people came home and didn't take the protocol seriously. We had a spike in December and a big one in January and February. I remember the panic. And people saying, well, the vaccine day. Because, of course, when you control it back, people now don't feel, they say, man, I all right, man. A friend of mine who plays football for St. Vincent and Grenadines, he's a young man, I like him very much, telling them all the time, take the vaccine. They didn't take it. Well, he got the first dose when he went to Miami to play football. When he comes back, he has to do the quarantine. He do the 2 days in the hotel. Called me this morning. He said, "Comrade, I can't come out of this thing." And so on. I said, no. You're not vaccinated. You have 1 dose. When it's 2 doses, you're fully vaccinated. Look, I know there are people who say, "Ralph, do like Trinidad, do like Grenada. Only let vaccinated people come in." I asked the question, would you agree that you can't leave the country until you get vaccinated? Because you have to think through this thing,
Yeah. Someone is asking, how about getting the monitoring bracelets? Well, that's another.
Well, the monitoring bracelets, they help a little, but they're not. They have profound limitations. It has been shown in other countries that have used the monitoring bracelets.
Okay, I'm being told it's time for a commercial break, so we'll do that now and come right back.
On Friday, July 16th, there'll be thousands of dollars to be won. A lotto jackpot of $64,000. A new home, car, or that college education.
Lotto, you have to be in it to win it.
Next lotto jackpot, $64,000.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6, a bigger jackpot game.
The Super 6 jackpot for Friday, July 16th is $210,000. Super 6, more jackpot money.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6, a bigger jackpot game.
Welcome back, Prime Minister. Before we took that last break, we were talking about the fact that some jurisdictions have made it clear that they're not going to entertain unvaccinated people on their shores. What's your position?
I understand governments which do that. But I think that even if we have persons who come in who are not vaccinated, that we can have a regime of controls to take care of that and manage the risks. Some countries which are not particularly tourism dependent may be able to do it. And if you have a tourism dependent country which does it, they can only reasonably do it for a short period of time, because I have a lot of tourists who are not vaccinated. And what do? You turn them back. If you have a husband and wife, the husband is vaccinated but the wife is not. I believe when those decisions are taken, they are taken on the basis of how do you manage the risks at this particular point in time. What worries people, and we see it in Trinidad, we see it in Barbados, we see it in other countries, is the deadly variants, like the Delta.
Mm-hmm.
There are others. No, we wouldn't want one of that to come here, those variants to come here to play havoc with us, because they're very transmissible, easily transmissible, and they strike you down. They'll strike you down young. You don't have to have comorbidities and leave you with some serious long COVID problems. But we have to manage the risks. I mean, I'm crossing the road from the financial complex to go over by Diamond Girl. I mean, traffic going up and down. I know you smile and say Diamond Girl. Just by the way, one Friday afternoon, about a year or so ago, I told my security officers, I said, everybody talking about Diamond Girl. I never see it. When I went there, I was amazed what I saw. You know, anyway. But what I mean in the risking even crossing the road. So we manage the risks. And at the moment, we believe we can allow the unvaccinated persons to come. But your quarantine is longer than if you're vaccinated. And the protocols applying to you are tighter.
Okay, somebody's asking what measures are in place to vaccinate the vagrants.
I can inquire into that. I don't know the answer to every question. I'm sure Simone, I never asked Simone that, but I would ask her. But Simone is such a detailed person. I'm sure that they have a program dealing with seeking to vaccinate the vagrants because they've been going to different sectors.
Okay. Wanted to talk to you today about Haiti and Cuba, but I suspect that would require
yes, well, I issued a statement on Cuba. You might have seen it. A strong statement. Yeah. We had a meeting just before I came here with a CARICOM meeting in Haiti. The acting Prime Minister, Dr. Claude Joseph, was in on the discussion for a while. He was leaving there to go and meet the presumptive Prime Minister, you know, the one who had been appointed by decree but not yet sworn in.
The judge.
Not the judge. This is Dr. Ariel Henry, Henry.
Okay.
And they were, look, Haiti has to form a government which is inclusive, broad-based. We're following very closely what is happening because, you know, on the Security Council, we get a lot of information and we're following things. And that the central purpose of that government is that they have to prepare for fresh elections. You can't have the elections in September. I don't see how that's possible. Too short a time. You wouldn't get credible elections by then. And CARICOM would like to help. We have skills in helping to run elections. I think we should involve the African Union too. Obviously, the United States of America is an important player in this, so is Mexico, you know, which is the second largest country in Latin America, and Mexico historically has been very involved with Haiti. So it's a big discussion which is going on, and we in CARICOM need to play a very lead role in relation to, and a position is being worked out to be published in relation to Cuba. People who, in some countries, who salivating, who sanctions create the problems, economic sanctions which are illegal, create the problems of shortages and the like. They're itching to intervene, but this is an internal matter. Did anybody want to intervene in America when thousands of people marched on Capitol Hill, invaded the House of Representatives and the Senate, killed people? None of that happened in Cuba, you know. People tend to forget, you know, that only happened in America in January, you know. That's an internal problem. Nobody should be intervening in that. Friends can talk and friends can make suggestions and so forth. We talk about intervention. And we can't allow the presidential and senatorial politics of Florida to hold the Cuban Revolution and the Cuban people prisoners. You know, so I have a clear view as to how this thing is. And the Cuban leaders have acknowledged that they have difficulties. You have COVID. The economy take a big hit because they're very tourism dependent now. And then, of course, they have these criminal sanctions against them. Donald Trump imposed 243 specific measures, reversing the Obama ease-ins, and tighten the screws, Now, those measures ought reasonably to be reversed to begin with. It's inhuman to have these sanctions. For what reason? Political reasons? What is the reason? Recently at the General Assembly, on the annual resolution to remove the embargo, which is illegal in international law, 184 countries said to remove the embargo. That is illegal, contrary to international law. 2 countries voted to keep the embargo, the United States of America and Israel. And the other 7, because 193 countries, the other 7 abstained or didn't vote. 184, We got 185 votes for our Security Council run at the General Assembly. When you get them kind of numbers, those are overwhelming numbers in the world. So what you talking about intervention? That's an internal matter between the Cuban people and the Cuban government. Cuba is a population of 11 million people. So you have some protests. Minority. Would you want an intervention because 40 people come out on Thursday on the streets of Kingston to protest where we move from Ashell to Ralph? So swift. Ashell, injustice is Ralph. New election. That's an amazing metamorphosis of propositions. That's to tell you that these fellas are not serious.
And I think that's a perfect note on which to end.
Thank you very much.
This evening's edition of Roundtable Talk. Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for joining us again. And we wish you all the best. We know you have quite a lot on your hands.
Thank you very
much.
much.
Just one issue, but blessings going forward.
Thank
you for viewing. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, God willing. Have a good evening.
Children are the future, help them read, learn, grow. Only reading is the key, so help them read, learn, grow. Let's show them how much fun it is to read, learn, grow. So parents, you play a part. First and foremost, reading from so young is advantageous. Link with the teachers, working hand in hand is a must. Just 10 minutes of your child reading to you is a plus. Get fun books, make reading priority. When children read, they are able to learn, and the more they learn, the more they grow. So parents help the kids read, learn, grow. Reading is fun, kids have to know. Read, learn, grow. The children are the future, help them read, learn, grow. So parents, you play a part.
This message is brought to you by the OECS USAID Early Learners Program, funded by United States Agency for International Development. For more information, log on to www.oecs.org/ELP.
This one is fabulous.
Yes, fabulous. It's Fabulous 500. Another $5 scratch game from the NLE. Loaded with $500 cash prizes.
With a top prize of $25,000.
You have 10 chances to win.
Fabulous $500.
There's cash to catch with just a scratch. Fabulous. Fabulous 500.
Hello and hi.
Hello everyone, I am Shakel Bob. I am a former Miss Pitani, a former Miss Rural SVG and Miss SVG contestant and runner-up. I'm a lawyer by profession, but a pageant lover at heart. Do not let the negatives prey on your mind, because a stitch in time saves 9. So, it's COVID vaccination time. Get vaccinated today to reduce the impact of COVID-19 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And I urge you, get vaccinated. It is safe and it is effective. Stop the spread, help the fight, and make the choice that is right. And let us unite and do the thing right.
On Friday, July 16th, there'll be thousands of dollars to be won. A lotto jackpot of $64,000. A new home, car, or that college education.
Lotto, you have to be in it to win it.
Next lotto jackpot, $64,000.
This evening on the VC3 News Update, Japan extends emergency grant aid of US $1.58 million to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 25,509 COVID-19 vaccines administered in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to date. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines continues to make major strides in the fight against cybercrime. Join us at 7 p.m. this evening for these stories and more on the VC3 News Update.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way, Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.
The Super 6 jackpot for Friday, July 16th is $210,000. Super 6, more jackpot money.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way, Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.